Alright, ladies and germs, we have a really interesting one here. So this does not come to the surface at all. I can rub my thumbnail all the way across this and it's not catching on anything. That means that this particular crack is a subsurface crack. It's at the underneath side of the glass, but it doesn't come to the surface. So luckily, I've done these before. Now what I do on this particular type of chip is I drill a hole right down towards the bottom of it. Now I don't use my little measurer anymore, you know, that little ruler that not the ruler, but the little depth gauge that I had. I don't even use that anymore because I don't need to. I know how deep to go. So because this doesn't come to the surface anywhere, as you can see, my tool doesn't catch on the edge of this anywhere. This is all underneath the glass. So just drilling a hole isn't going to fill it. So I drill a little hole and then I give it a little tap. There we go. Now we've got an opening that'll take resin. Now what that does is that makes this hole that I drilled meet the bottom of the line. So now I can fill that without having to worry about trying to drill too deep in the windshield. Now I don't know if you can see how small that little chip is that I made, but this is something that I practiced at a junkyard. And let me tell you, finding one of this type of damage at a junkyard is very difficult because you just don't find this kind of stuff at a junkyard. It took me a week to find a damaged windshield like this where the crack didn't come to the surface at all. So again, today is nice and, well, it's about neutral. We're going to use the CR resin. I have not had to use the thin resin hardly at all this year, which is a beautiful thing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 drops of resin because this is a long line. Now you might be asking, why did I do the hole at the bottom? Well, that's because resin loves to wick. It loves to wick up the windshield. It doesn't much care for going down, but it loves to go up. And we're going to put enough pressure on that to hopefully sit here and watch it just crawl up the line. But you also have to remember there's nowhere for the air to escape. So because of that, this may take a little longer than expected. I have a lot of pressure on it. I can see that it's filling a little bit. I got here about a half an hour earlier than I should have, and I'm glad I did. So I might have to drill and pop the other end of this, but we'll just monitor it for a minute and see. I think it's air blocked because like I said, there's nowhere for the air to escape. So it's very, very possible that it's going to get air blocked. But we're going to watch it and see. I don't know if you can see in the mirror what I'm seeing, but we pulled a vacuum and it did fill a little farther. So now we're going to pressurize again. And we'll watch it. But I might have to drill a hole at the other end at the top of the line. In fact, every time I pull a vacuum it fills a little bit more, but that's going to take forever doing it that way. So let's go ahead and let's drill a hole at the top. I want to keep that shaded if I can, so let's put the tool right here and cover that. What we'll do, now this is something I haven't had to do yet, but we're going to do it today. We're going to drill a hole at the top. To hopefully allow air to come out of the top. That's what we're hoping. We're hoping the air will come out of the top. Now we did start filling already down at the bottom, and since I've drilled it, the resin has actually gone farther up the line. Since I drilled the top of that, the resin's gone farther up the line. So we'll see if that will allow the air to escape while the resin gets pushed into the line. I might have to put more resin in my tool. I'm probably going to have to put more resin in my tool, because I am maxed out on the tool right now. Yes, that's going to work. That is going to work. It's still going to take a little longer than usual, because it's just a long line across the windshield. I think what we'll do, we'll go with a little bit thinner resin. I haven't had to use the thin, but this is a long subsurface crack here. And we want the resin to flow as much as possible. So we'll use the thinner resin and see if that'll help. Okay, that's quite a bit of pressure on that right there. Let's see how she flows. This one might take a while, ladies and gentlemen. I can see the resin flowing up the line. That's a beautiful thing. That means my air outlet at the top is working. That's beautiful. Go ahead and pull a vacuum. Every time I pull a vacuum, I see it filling a little more. So that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to pressurize and then pull a vacuum, and then pressurize and pull a vacuum, and pressurize and pull a vacuum. So that's the only way we're going to get this to fill all the way. Every time I pull a vacuum, I see it fill just a little bit more. I'm glad I got here early. I was like 3 minutes down the road, and I wasn't supposed to be here till 4 o'clock, but I actually got here at like 3:30. And I texted her and said, I'm a little early, I hope that's okay. And she was like, yep, I'll be out in a minute. So I was like, cool, because it's going to get dark on it. Knowing what I know now about this chip, I'm glad I got here early, because this is going to take a while. And I don't like working after dark, because first of all, it gets a lot colder. Secondly, I can't see what I'm doing, and I have to use my light. And third, it gets a lot colder. And fourth, it gets a lot colder. Now you notice I said that 3 times, because it does. It gets a lot colder. It's cold enough out here as it is. I'm glad we don't have any snow on the ground, but it's cold enough already. I don't want it any colder. I don't mind riding my bike home in the cold, I just don't want to be trying to do a windshield repair in the cold because my hands don't function that way. Let's go ahead and add a little more resin to the tool. We're almost bottomed out, which means we're getting less pressure on the resin. So we'll add some more of the low viscosity resin because we need it to flow up that crack. Go with another 12 drops. Now you'll notice that when I'm doing something like this, I know what I'm doing, and that's because I've practiced. Because like I said, I've only ever seen one other chip like this that didn't come to the surface, one other little crack like this that didn't come all the way to the surface. And when I drilled a hole and I tried to just fill it with the hole, I drilled several holes actually all the way up the line, and I couldn't get it to fill at all. And I had to tell the customer, I'm sorry, I can't get it to take any resin. Well, then I went to a junkyard and I started finding rock chips like this that are just lines, circles, you know, half moons or whatever, and I started checking them. And the more I checked, I kept, you know, I found one that didn't come to the surface like the one I was working on. It just didn't come to the surface. You couldn't feel anything at the surface of the glass. So I drilled and I tried to fill it and it didn't work. So then what I did was I popped a chip at the end, just like I did on this one. I popped a chip. And I put so much pressure on my tool that it came off the windshield. So we've got to reset that. So I popped the chip at the end, just like I did on this one, and lo and behold, it filled. And I was extremely happy about it. So that's what taught me, because I'm not willing to just accept the fact that I can't do a repair. I'm not willing to accept that. That's not in my nature, to just accept defeat. So then once I realized what I had to do, I went back to the customer and said, I might have come up with a technique to fill that chip this time, and hopefully it'll work if you're willing to let me try. And he was like, dude, you can try all you want. He said, if I don't get it fixed, it's going to crack. So you're more than welcome to try. And I said, well, I won't charge you. And if I crack your windshield while I'm attempting it, I'll replace your windshield. And he was like, come on out. So I went out there and I did the same exact thing that I'm doing on this one. And it filled all the way in. So that was a beautiful thing. And it didn't crack. Now this one, if I would have popped a little bullseye chip up at the other end instead of just drilling it, it would have filled a lot faster. But you're also taking a chance on cracking the windshield. Every time you go to pop a chip in the windshield, you're taking a chance. And I would prefer to just not take that chance. I did the one on the bottom, but I don't really want to be pounding on this glass a lot. Because with a subsurface crack like that, because it doesn't come to the surface at all, every time you hit the glass, you're taking a chance on it cracking farther across the glass. And wow, my tool's about to, my little suction cut, my seal is about to come out of the bottom of this tool. You know what? I'm going to switch tools because this one, the seal is so expanded on it that I can't really get a good tight seal on it. So I'm going to get the resin out of there. And I don't think the sun is actually shining on the chip itself, but we're going to cover it anyway. We're going to use this other tool that's got the new seal in it. It's a little dirty because I haven't used it, it's just been in the bag. We'll wipe it clean. This one I'll get a better seal on. When your seal is so fat and soft that it's not sealing against the glass like it's supposed to, you're losing pressure. Now, a soft seal is great in some cases, but a stiffer seal is better for sealing on a chip like this. Alright, we're going to use more resin yet. That should be the final 10 drops that I need, because it's about 2/3 of the way full, as you can see. Now I should get a better seal on this tool, and that should, in fact, fill the rest of the line. Oh yeah, that's going to work much better. So now we're just going to leave the pressure on it for a minute and just let it fill. I'm not sure if this is going to be 100% invisible, but it's going to look a lot better in the end, and it won't crack. So what I'm seeing is, I'm not seeing the air coming out of the top hole, I'm seeing the air coming back down the line. As the resin goes up, it displaces the air and forces the air back down the line. That's why when I pull a vacuum, the resin goes a little farther up the line, so it doesn't look like the hole on the end really did much good as far as pushing out the air. But that's alright, we're drawing the air out through this way, so we draw the air out and then we repressurize and we get more pressure on it, and it'll take some time. It's going to take a little time, but she should fill in. Little at a time, my friends. I don't want to put so much pressure on my resin that it pops the tool off the windshield again. But I want enough pressure on there to know that it's forcing that resin farther up the line. And you can see the air coming back down the line. That's crazy, right? Like I said, had I popped a bullseye chip at the other end, the air would probably be escaping from that other end. But every time you pop a chip, you're taking a chance. And the one thing we don't like doing is taking too many chances. Well, we'll pull another vacuum. It'll fill, it's just going to take some time, that's all. It's filling in, we're about, well, we're over 2/3 of the way there. But without the crack being at the surface, I know for a fact that nobody in this area would have touched this. They would have just said, that can't be repaired. When it cracks, come back and see us and we'll put a windshield in for you. They would have never touched it. They wouldn't have done what I did. They wouldn't have taken a chance on popping a bullseye chip or anything like that. They would have just said, nope, we can't do it. So I hope that you're learning something from me, because I'm not the kind of person that likes to say, no, I can't do something. So I've said it in many videos now, I go to the junkyard and practice, because I want to know, is it possible to fix a chip like this? And the answer is, yes it is. It is possible. Does it take a long time? Sure, but this is my last job of the day, so I don't care. And even if it was in the middle of the day, it would probably fill faster because it would be warmer, so I would probably be able to fill it faster. But even in the middle of the day, I schedule myself in a manner in which I have time to do the jobs. I make sure I give myself enough time to do each job. So if I show up, because I charge $35 to fix up to 3 chips in a windshield. So this particular chip is not going to take any longer than it would take me to repair 3 chips in a windshield. If I was doing 3 chips in a windshield, it would take about the same amount of time. But what I do is I schedule myself in a manner in which I know I can do 3 repairs in a windshield and still make it to my next customer on schedule. Because when I show up to do a job, I don't know if they have 1 chip in their windshield or 2 chips or 3 chips, or if the chip that they have in their windshield isn't actually a chip, but instead is a crack. There's a lot of times I show up and it's a 10 or 12 inch crack, not just a chip. So I want to make sure I give myself plenty of time just in case. And I always do that. I always give myself plenty of time. This one, I got here a half an hour early, and like I said, I'm glad I did, because if it would have been any later, then, I mean, the sun's already going down, and it's going to get more and more difficult for me to see what I'm doing. And that is almost full, guys. Gosh, I hate to do this. I really do. I hate to do this, but I don't have a choice. It's going to get dark, and it's going to get cold, and I need to make sure I can get this filled all the way. I really didn't like doing that. I didn't like doing that at all, but by that token, I want to get this chip filled. I don't want to be out here half an hour after dark trying to use my light to see and not get a good repair. So the lady was telling me that if this was a small chip, she would have probably done a DIY kit. And I said, well, that's great, you know. I don't hold it against people for wanting to do things themselves. And she was like, well, with the extent of the damage on this one, I decided I better call an expert. And I said, well, I appreciate that, because I specialize in these. These are the kind of chips I specialize in. Trying to concentrate here and keep all those drops in the tool. Now, as I'm backfilling this, the resin should, in theory, come out of the bottom of the hole. This bottom hole down here should, in theory, come out of the bottom hole. That is, if I'm over the hole like I'm supposed to be, and I believe I am. We're going to try to fill it from the top, and if that doesn't work, then we'll go back to the bottom one again. Let's go ahead and pull a vacuum real quick, see what happens. And then we'll pressurize again. I really wish there was room for 2 tools on here, but there's not. She's filling, it's just taking time. I really need to get that top part filled. Now see, it's getting dark and it's getting cold instantly. My hands are starting to get cold instantly. Pull the vacuum. I really want to get that knuckle filled in. Just that big spot in the middle. I really want to get that to fill. These type of chips just take some time, guys. You just can't rush the process. I mean, I'm trying really hard not to rush the process, but at the same time, it's going to get dark. It's going to get colder. The windshield's getting colder. It's just one of those things that I need to hurry and get this done so that I know it's a good repair. It's filling, it's just taking its sweet ass time doing it. It's just taking its sweet time. You've heard me say it before though, don't rush the process. See, it's this knuckle right here that I'm trying to get filled in, that thick part right there. Once that's filled in, I'll put the tool back on the bottom line and see if I can eliminate all this dark spot right here. Got someone talking. That's all right. Okay, we've almost got that knuckle filled in. Pull another vacuum. And let's just keep going with this one because it's filling farther down the line. So let's just keep going with it for a minute. Because once we get past that knuckle, it should fill pretty fast. Yep, it just went past the knuckle. So now it should fill in a little faster. I'm probably still going to have to come down to the bottom part of the chip to get it to fill up the rest of the way up the chip. I honestly don't know if I have room on here for two tools. It would be nice if I could put a second tool on there and compress that resin to 0 point. What do you know? I can fit a second tool on here. Alright, let's see if I can get that pulled down on the hole there. Let's see if we can put some resin in this tool and get that resin to compress the air enough to make that line mostly invisible. The less visible the line is, the better the repair, in my opinion. Eight more drops. I'm telling you, we're using a lot of resin on this one. We've got the top one pressurized all the way. Let's pressurize this bottom one. Now, this is something I've never done. I've never done two tools on the same, on the same line, yes, but not on the same style of chip like this. I don't know how this is going to work because there's nowhere for the air to go at all now, but mainly what I'm trying to do is get that resin to compress in the middle to basically crush the air bubble down to nothing. That's what I'm trying to do. Now we'll pull a vacuum on this top one, and I can see it disappearing. I don't know if you can. I can see it getting less visible. That's a beautiful thing. Now we'll repressurize this top one. Yeah, this is working very well. This is working well. I like the way this is working. Although I can't see the little seal in the mirror to know exactly how much pressure I'm putting on it. Let's pull a vacuum on this one real quick. I really want to make that line go away, guys. I really want to make it go away. And it's going away slowly. It's slowly but surely going away. Pull a vacuum on this top tool again. We'll just leave the vacuum on there for a second and see what happens. It is beginning to get really cold all of a sudden. It's beginning to get colder and colder. Boy, when that sun goes down, that temperature drops like a stone. Like a stone in water. That line's getting smaller. That dark line in the center is getting smaller. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I hope I'm not just pointing the camera at nothing. Pull a vacuum on this one. I don't know if you understand what I'm doing. So when I pressurize the top one and I pull a vacuum on the bottom, that's forcing resin down the line and the air coming out of the bottom. And then when I pressurize the bottom and open the top one, it's doing the same thing, only in reverse. So it's pressurizing the resin into the line and drawing the air out of the top hole. So basically I'm doing it's like a pump. So we'll pull a vacuum on the top one again. And it's very possible that that little line in the middle just may not go away. That's very possible. But I have to try. I can't just accept defeat. I have to try. Now we're going to pressurize both of them and see if we can squish that line down to zero tolerance. Just keep pressure on both tools at this stage and see if we can just get that line to squish down to nothingness. Dropped my vape. Okay, so I do see it getting thinner. I do see the line getting thinner. It's not as fat as it was. It's actually getting thinner in the middle. So that's a beautiful thing. So let's pull a vacuum on the top one again, because that one seems to be working better than the lower one for some reason. And then go ahead. Yeah, that line's getting smaller. It's just taking time, guys. It's just taking some time. I'm not the kind of person that gives up. Not very often. You will rarely see me just give up on a chip. I have, But that's because everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong, and there was just so much I could do without cracking the windshield. Now we're going to open this bottom one up. Let that air come out of the bottom if it will. And then we'll pressurize one more time. And then that'll probably be it. I mean, they may just have to deal with that little line in the middle right there. You'll see. Because like I said, it's getting colder now. And the colder the glass gets, the less the resin wants to flow. Thick, you know, the resin, when it gets cold, it gets thicker. And it doesn't flow as easily. So the colder the glass gets, the less the resin wants to flow. I'm thinking I have enough pressure on these tools now that it should compress that resin down. But because I opened up that bottom tool now, the line showed back up when I pressurized it. So we need to open the top one again. Seems like the top one's working better than the bottom one. Evacuating more air than the bottom tool is. We're just going to let that sit there under vacuum for a minute. My hands are getting extremely cold. It happens real fast. My hands get cold real fast once the sun goes down. I don't know if you remember, I showed you my scars from my frostbite. You can see them from here down and from about halfway up this hand to the end of my fingers. So knuckles all the way down, and then halfway up my hand all the way down. So my fingernails look like crap. They'll never grow properly again. And the doctor gave me some cream to... Now this happened when I was a kid, the frostbite. And they've come out with these new creams that are to help eliminate scarring. Not really eliminate it, but make it less visible. So that's a beautiful thing. I've been using the cream now for about 2 months. No, about a month. And I believe it's working, but I won't know until next summer when my hands are exposed to the sun and they get tan on them, because normally they look like they just burn and peel and burn and peel and burn and peel because the skin is damaged. So they basically just burn and peel and burn and peel and burn and peel, and they look like crap all the time in the summer. But that cream is supposed to help prevent that from happening, so we'll see. You know, I've almost got that line eliminated. God, I just wish it would just go away already. Wonder what'll happen if I pull a vacuum on, well, yeah, what'll happen if I pull a vacuum on both ends at the same time? Didn't think about that, did I? No, I did not. I really just want that little tiny line in the middle to go away. Damn it, come on. I really just want that little line to go away. It's getting smaller, but damn, it's taking forever. I would really just like it to go away completely so I can cure it and be done. Oh boy. Now it's bigger again because I pulled a vacuum on both ends. It would seem like I'm fighting a losing battle here, ladies and gentlemen. It's got an air pocket in the middle. I pressurize here, it pushes that air pocket this way. I pressurize, it pushes the air pocket that way. There's just no way to draw that air out of that middle. It's just not going to draw it out. I think I'm just fighting a losing battle here. Pull another vacuum on that top one. Just getting cold. I hate the cold. My hands don't like the cold, I'll put it that way. I personally don't get cold, it's just that my hands get cold, and when they get cold I can't function. So it's not about me not liking the cold, it's my hands getting stiffer and colder and starting to feel like they're burning. That's what it's about. It's not about me personally not liking the cold. My head doesn't get cold even though I'm bald, as you can see. Looking at me there. My ears don't get cold. My legs don't get cold. It's just my hands. And like I said, I lose functionality in my hands when they get cold. I can't feel how much pressure I'm putting on the tool or anything when my hands are cold. We're just going to leave that under pressure for a minute and see what happens. It's like when I pressurize it, the line gets worse. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but when I pressurize it, the line actually gets worse. When I pull a vacuum, the line gets smaller, and when I pressurize it, the line gets worse. So it's just pushing the air back and forth in there, and it's not really fixing anything at this stage. They say patience is a virtue. I don't believe that at all. I think patience has to be practiced. Just like doing windshield chips, you need to practice. I have to practice my patience. I get so impatient with things like this that it just drives me crazy that that line can just stay there. I really want that line to go away. I really, 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 really do. It's getting much, much better. Let's pull a vacuum. Alright, I normally don't vape on camera. Well, I'm not really on camera. but my nerves are fragile right now. In fact, I vape very little. I normally leave my vape at home, but I brought it with me today because I was only going to be out for a couple of hours. Normally, if I leave the house in the morning, I leave my vape on the coffee table and I don't use it all day until I get home. Today, I just thought, well, I'm just going to be out there for a couple of hours. It doesn't hurt to take it with me. And I haven't used it since I came out the door. Until now. Pressurize one more time and call it good. If that doesn't make the line go away, nothing should. I did that on purpose so I'd rhyme, but I don't speak in riddles all the time. I'm just joshing you guys. I'm just giving you a hard time. Come on, fill in the rest of the way, please, so I can go home. Because I really want to go home. See, and it gets worse when I pressurize it. It gets worse. But I think if I let it sit there long enough, it'll compress down. I know I'm drawing some air out of it, just not as much as I would like. I'm not getting all the air. But we're taking our time because we want to do a good job. And since this is my last one for the day, the sun is down. It's going behind the mountains over there. But like I said, this is my last repair of the day. Thank goodness. Because this one is taking longer than most. So I'm glad of it that it's the last one of the day. Because if it wasn't, I'd have to be texting customers right now saying I'm running late. So I'm glad that this is the last one of the day. I'll pull one more vacuum. And just let it sit there under vacuum for a minute. I know that air pocket's not going to go all the way up the line to the top of the tool. I just want it to spread out so that if the air will spread out more, then I can compress those bubbles down to nothing. I just need it to spread out more because it's just sitting in that one place. But it is getting less visible, so that's a beautiful thing. That's what we want. I got resin all over my hands. My hands are going to be cold when I put them in my gloves. That's not going to be good. I'm going to have to ride home in the cold. And the dark, apparently. Going to have to ride home in the cold and the dark. So I wonder now if I pull a vacuum on this one before I pressurize the top one. Let me think outside the box here a little bit. Maybe that'll help. Oh, I can see the air moving. I don't think you can see it, but I can see the air moving now. Okay. Yeah, I just saw a bubble go up in this bottom tool. I can see it coming down the line. Beautiful. Alright, let's let that sit there for a minute. This is one of those things, guys, that you kind of have to experiment while you're doing it. Because, I mean, you can learn certain techniques, but if your technique isn't working, then you kind of have to experiment a little bit while you're doing the repair. Because sometimes your technique won't work exactly the way you practiced it. I've had that happen a time or two. I don't like it when it happens, like this one, but just using common sense and using what I know works, and using, you know, just general knowledge of trying to draw the air out of the chip, you know, it's just one of those things where I really don't want to punch another hole in the glass, especially now that the glass is so cold. It's very possible that they're just going to end up seeing that small line in the middle, because nothing I'm doing is working. Nothing I'm doing is getting that air pocket out of there. But I wonder if I pull a vacuum and then pressurize and then pull a vacuum. You know, that works on some chips that I've done, some bigger chips. You vacuum and then pressure immediately, and then vacuum and pressure immediately again, and then vacuum and pressure immediately again, and sometimes that works. So let's try that. Like I said, right now, this one has become an experiment. We'll vacuum and pressurize. Let's try that, see what we can do, because I'm running out of ideas. And I've used like 30 drops of resin already. For one repair, which is a lot. Let's just pull a vacuum now and let that set for a second. Oh boy, that air pocket just doesn't want to freaking go anywhere, guys. It just wants to stay there. No matter what I do, that air pocket does not want to go away. Pull a vacuum on the top one again. I know I'm not doing much talking right now, but you know what I'm doing. I'm freezing my ass off trying to get this repaired and getting a little frustrated, to be honest with you. I'm not understanding why I can't get that bubble to compress down. We might just have to call it. Sorry about the vaping, guys, but like I said, getting frustrated. Just going to leave it under pressure for a minute. It's not a bad little Dodge Caravan she's got. I don't mind them. She said she paid $1,000 for this van 3 years ago. And I would say she has gotten well worth her money's worth out of it if she's had it for 3 years. She's definitely got her money's worth out of it. You know, I really want to pull another vacuum, but it looks like it's compressing finally. Let's leave it alone for a minute. That windshield is getting colder by the minute. My knee hurts. I got bad knees, so leaning over like that makes my knees hurt. You know, it looks really good from this angle. Maybe it's already filled and I'm just fighting a losing battle here, thinking that it's not. Maybe that's a reflection of my tool. It's not. It's not a reflection. That's not a reflection, but it does look like it's compressing down a little more. Let's just leave that pressure on there for a minute. See what it looks like in a minute. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm done, and quit messing with it, and just let it do what it's going to do. That line does look like it's compressing down, but it could be an optical illusion. My brother and I mess around and we say optional illusion. Like having the illusion is an option. It's an optional illusion. I'm going to pull a vacuum on this top one more time, because I believe that's going to help. Time to hit it with a light. Let's hit it with the light. We're not going to get it any more than what it already is. So we'll just throw a light on it so that it doesn't suck air into it when we take the tools off the windshield, but that's as good as it's going to get. Still going to see that one little tiny line in the middle, in the very middle. Not really anything I can do about it at this stage. I've been fighting with it long enough. I've used too much resin already, but I would say for what it was, that's a good repair, honestly. And maybe I'm seeing something that nobody else can see. Maybe I'm just too close to my work. That's very possible. Maybe I'm just too close to it and I'm seeing it, and when you're at a little bit of a distance, like sitting in the driver's seat or something, you won't be able to see it at all. That's happened to me before. Sometimes I'm too close to my work. But I know the camera's picking up on that little tiny line right in the middle. I know the camera is. Yeah, there's still that little tiny line right in the middle, but you know, there's only so much you can do. Sometimes you just have to say, that's it. Considering what that chip was, I think I did all right. I mean, that was a huge line in the windshield that didn't have any surface cracks at all. So trying to get all the air out of it was already going to be a challenge. I don't think I did too bad. Let's see if you can see that line from in here. No, you cannot. Alright, you cannot see that line from in here. So, it would have been right there in the middle, but you can't see it from inside the vehicle at all. So that must have been an optional illusion for me. I could see it in the mirror, but maybe... No, you can't see it from out here either. Okay. So maybe I was just seeing something that wasn't there. No, I can see it. It's so tiny. I can just barely see it. So, yeah, my mirror magnifies everything, so I'm seeing it way worse than it is. I mean, that line is so small. I can barely see it from out here. I know they can't see it. They won't be able to. Maybe in just the right light. But wow. I've been here an hour and a half. See, on a job like this one, I would have been calling customers saying, I'm running late, sorry, you know, or let me reschedule for later this afternoon or something like that, or tomorrow morning or whatever. But I'm glad this was my last customer today, because that's a real pain in the butt when you have to start rescheduling people. My hands are so cold right now I can barely feel them. They feel like they're burning. They feel like I've got them under hot water right now. And you would think that would be a good thing, because, you know, oh, they feel warm. But no, it's not a good thing. They feel hot. They don't feel warm. They feel like they're burning. Like literally like they're in a fire. Look how red they get. My hands react to the cold like unlike anything you've ever seen. They do not like the cold. If they would have never been frostbitten, I wouldn't be having this issue, but because they were frostbitten, that's what causes the issues. But they were not frostbitten all the way to the bone like some people get and have to have them amputated. They were frostbitten enough to just, you know, destroy some of the skin. That's where all the scarring's from. But they weren't frostbitten enough to destroy the muscles and the veins and everything else. But man, The sensitivity and the nerves in my hands is just ridiculous. Okay, yeah, so I can see that tiny little line right there, but considering what this was, I don't think that's bad at all. It's not as good as I would have liked, but it's better than letting your windshield crack. I know that ain't going anywhere now, so we're good on that. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's actually really good. I mean, as big as that chip was, I'll put a before picture up here again so you can see, just to, I know this was a longer video, but look at what it was compared to what it is now. That's really nice. And I think she's still got my book, so I better go ring the doorbell and get my money. I'll see you guys in the next one. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, click the like button, share the videos, and throw me some love. I'd greatly appreciate it.